Welcome to another episode of the Success Agent Podcast. And this is the show where we talk about all things real estate, whether you're just getting started or you've been at this a long time, there's always something new to learn. And in today's show, we've got Chris Pre, who is the founder of Wicked Smart. And Chris Pre is the chairman and founder of Smart Real Estate Coach and a four times best-selling author. He is a Forbes Business Council member and a three-time Inc. 5000 honoree of the fastest growing company. Wicked Smart Community operates all over North America and has successfully completed hundreds of transactions. Chris hosts the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast, which ranks in the top 0.5% globally, which is a huge accomplishment in the podcast world when there's gazillions of podcasts out there. And as being a podcast host myself, I know that is a very admirable feat to accomplish. And so, Chris, we're just gonna jump right in. Kind of, let's just go from the last time you were on the show back in 2020, post COVID, the changes, and we'll just kind of go from there.
So it was 2020. You asked me, you knew the answer. All
I
right.
did know the answer.
All right. Yeah, because I remember I was parked in my home office at my other house during COVID. That is correct. Man, lots have changed. I'll hit it from a 10,000 foot view, and then as usual, you can unpack whatever you want. From a business side, meaning coaching side,
Yeah.
we went entirely virtual. I went from having an office building, which I owned then, and we had it filled, to I sold that. We had bought it on terms. I didn't have to sell it, but I sold it off. We did very, very well because our talent's all over the country now. Actually, in out of the country. We have people in Italy and the Philippines that are on our team, not just virtual assistants. So that's changed the company because, as you know, we can attract great talent now, right? We don't have to worry
Yeah.
about we used to be local. We were crazy if you think in hindsight. As far as the investors, a couple things have changed. I mean, one is the sellers are much more susceptible and open to having us do virtual things with them before we come out, if we even have to go out. It's just the norm now. They actually appreciate it. Whereas, as you know, before 2020, they think you were nuts. You're going to buy my house, but you're not going to come out. It
Yeah.
was kind of weird. Now it's a given. Now it's great. And then as far as what we do because of all the changes, it wasn't just COVID, right? There's been changes since then with the interest rates doubling and all that other garbage. So it's neat because now we're just pushing a lot more aggressive on longer terms on the deals. Because I mean, you and I both know if the deal goes 10 years, I don't care what the market is. As long as I
Hmm.
get a nice 10-year term, or even five's nice, but 10 years great. So the market can do what it does, but you can look historically and you wouldn't worry about a 10-year span at any point, I don't think, in history. So those things have changed dramatically. Inside, as we bring new community members on, things have changed a little bit. We're sort of on-ramping people a lot broader in scope, meaning we're bringing people into the office here privately. It's free with our different experience levels. Never had that. We used to do, just the big events. And then we're like, okay, if we get them in the office here and we literally sit at the conference room table and do dials for them with their leads and then get them deals done and structured deals, they're learning a heck of a lot better than being yelled at on the stage, right? So those are some things anyway. These are high points.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been a wild ride since COVID, of course. I was just talking to my wife yesterday about how we're going to be talking about COVID probably for the next 100 years,
Yeah.
you know, and how we've just pivoted our businesses and how things have become so much more um less moving parts because we can just, get behind the computer and just knock it out. And it's brought a lot of technology to the forefront because I'm up in Wyoming, and Wyoming went from, still in the 20th century to the 21st century, like overnight, because they
Yeah.
had to, which was a good thing because, especially on the title and like recording and a lot of this kind of stuff, where we're still running files down to the courthouse and now we're e-filing and stuff. And so that's been huge for us here. And so what have you guys been doing in terms of, are you guys be able to put together better deals, in terms of, because, getting latching onto some of those old interest rates and then
Yeah.
being able to do terms deals because you can still get a hold of 3.2 or even 2.8% interest rates, and then, deals are a little bit more profitable that way.
Yeah, deals are way up to that point for that reason and a couple others. So I'll hit them in no priority order. One
Yeah.
is you said interest rates. Man, I think it's like 9 out of 10 mortgages in that time period were under 6. And then 4 out of 5 of those are under 5. And there's a batch under 4%. So yes, those are coming to us in droves two different ways. One, as our community is having their virtual assistants prospect, they're finding them, they're stumbling upon them. But then you can get niche lists, right? You can just search by interest rate or by year bought. So think about that. Like if someone learned how to do creative real estate, right? And they just did it for their own house and then went out and found a house at 2, 3, 4% interest rate, I think the spouse would be kind of happy. So if you never did anything but your own house, it's worth learning what we do. The other thing that's nice is during this time period, and you can relate this in the realtor world, we are getting just unbelievable amount of referrals from wholesalers and realtors because things are changing so much.
Yeah.
So anything, it's not that we compete, we actually complement because anything doesn't fit in their box, they can refer to us and vice versa. We sold off conventionally probably 3 of our properties so far this year. And we just call our realtors in each market, right? And then they'll call us if they can't, something's expiring or the people don't want to list because they don't want to pay commission or they're upside down, they don't want to do a short sale, anything that they would say no to. And so vice versa. Those relationships have increased dramatically compared to before. Whereas it wasn't like there was friction. It was just like you're over there and we're over here. And now they understand that we can only help. Like we're not going to hurt
Yeah.
anything. So that's changed a lot. So the realtors, the interest rates, the uncertainty in general, be it the politics or be it whatever, it's always going to be here. But every time that kind of tweaks or changes or the media screams, we're in more demand, no question, because people don't know what to do. They're like, what's the best? As long as we can get a hold of them. So those things have drove business to us big time.
And are you finding like the lists that you're pulling are more efficient lists because with AI and stuff like that, are you able to pull some better lists?
Good question. We switched. I didn't think of it this way, but we switched to a data company after 13 years. We switched to a new one, and we switched to them because their data is better. So I never thought about it. You just said it in reverse. I think you're probably correct because they're a higher level company, and they probably had that tech. And then they came out with this new list, which is really cool for anyone to know. They did it for our community, so I don't know how outreach they can do with it, but it's called distressed. So instead of pre-NOD or pre-foreclosure or any of those that everybody can get,
Mm-hmm.
distress, and distress is pulling the metrics from did you miss a car payment or two? Did you miss utilities? And so it's preempting, because if they can't
Yeah.
get beat, what's going to happen? Then it comes down to mortgage. So nobody's calling them. So we're mailing them and calling them. And if you remember, we don't do heavy mailings. I'm talking about hundreds of pieces, not thousands. And
Yeah.
then I'll have my virtual assistants come in the back end and call them, and leads are coming from that. So there's all kinds of niche lists, but that's a brand new, really cool one, probably because of what you said.
Yeah, distressed. I never even thought about like getting ahead of it before it
That's
happens.
awesome. I
And
didn't. I wish I thought of it, but I didn't.
yeah, when they're in their head already, like what am I supposed to do before
Yeah,
anything happens? Yeah.
that's it.
That's even better than pre-foreclosure because
Way
you
better.
already known they've made some missed payments or whatever. But if you already know that they're missing payments in other areas, then there's some predictability there.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's probably a bigger list too because probably more people are in that category than in the category of
Oh yeah. Yeah, we
pre-foreclosure
can't
or
get to them. So like they have this service where you can do it monthly, and I'm like, there's no way myself and the virtual assistants can even get to them all. So we're tinkering with how many we can do, and then maybe do it every 3 or 4 months.
yeah, no, that's great. And then so is that like a subscription service that
Yeah.
they just updated based on how many, you want on that list?
Yeah, they actually rate them like level of distress. It's unbelievable. 1 to 5. And they update it monthly if you want to be that picky. But I just did the initial and we're just tinkering. We're in month 3.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good list. I mean, we always use another list service. They also give you, the expires, the for rent by owner, the for sale by owner that anybody can get. We used to use My Plus, and some of us students still do, but we upgraded to this one.
Nice. Yeah, so for anybody that's listening, so we're kind of talking about being able to get lists from a data source, and then you can usually upload those into a dialer, or if you want to do the dials yourself, or you have a CRM that you upload the list to, and then you give your virtual assistant access to those lists,
Yeah.
and then they just dial through those lists. And one of the key components to any successful business is getting good systems. And I would say you probably spend more time putting systems together than you want do doing deals. Because if you don't have a good machine, then you don't have a good process, and then therefore you don't get good results. So,
Yeah, there's another piece you made me think of when you said it that way, back to your AI comment, because back in the day, probably 20, when we talked to our community members had to buy a website, normal, but the cost had come down, but they still had to buy one. They had all these pieces of different components of systems. Now we have one company, one CRM, but now that CRM also provides a bot. It provides AI transcription on the calls. We're about to release call critiques, so our coaches don't have to do those all. And then because we have so many we can train it on. And the website alone that comes with it is crazy. And then all our workflows are built into it. So it's one system that probably took up four. That's just in the last few years.
yeah, that's crazy that you can get AI to like rate the quality of the call and then give you a score afterwards. That's
Well, our coaches spend JP hours. I do too at the higher level, critiquing the call because it's usually the fastest way to get them through the learning curve.
yeah,
And if we could even take out, I don't know, 30% of their time for the coaches, and we then fine tune and train the bot a little bit better, train the AI a little bit better, then it's killer.
yeah. So what would you say in that regard is the biggest mistakes that new investors make when they're on the phones?
On the phone,
Yeah,
again, not in priority order, just as I think of them, because I critique so many. One is probably taking it, well, in our case, in the community, we tell them don't take it farther than you're comfortable taking it, then grab a coach and have them finish it, right? So that's one mistake, at least in our community, because not everybody has that. So if you don't have that, then I suggest you record your own calls and get a coach, right? And then you can then take it further and further and further. And I'll give them a nugget. If you're new and I don't care if you're a realtor or an investor, and you feel like, ooh, the call's getting like, I don't know how to answer these. All you have to say is one or two things. Hey, I've got enough information for now. I'm going to get with my team and one of us will get back to you. Or, hey, sorry, I got another Zoom I got to jump on. I think I got enough now. Let me just digest this and I'll get back to you. So you can cut it off so you're not putting yourself in a bad spot, just from a script standpoint. The second thing is even getting on the phone without having a continuous practice. Like actors practice for hundreds of hours, right? And we sometimes think, oh, we get the scripts in front of us. We'll just kind of jump on the phone, and it screams loudly to a seller. Again, I don't care if you're an investor or a realtor when you're not confident.
yeah.
You can say the wrong thing, but if you're confident, you got them. They want to follow you.
Hmm.
Clarity, and confidence. The opposite is true. They'll hang up or run from you if you're not clear and not confident. It comes across.
Yeah. One of the things that I hear a lot from just entrepreneurs and investors and salespeople all the time is they're like, well, I don't want to talk to people. I'm like, what are you here for?
Yeah,
You know, you have to learn how to talk to people. And they're like, well, I don't want to sound like a robot. And I'm like, well, you're going to sound like a robot till you know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Because if you got nothing to say, like, people that can see that you're struggling will eat you alive. So that's why, like,
yeah.
even if you sound like a robot, if you can do it and you can do it fluently and you can say it word for word what's on the script, and then you're able to then speak confidently because you know the words by heart.
Yeah.
But if you don't get to that point, like people that they don't even want to talk to you to begin with. And so if you're struggling to try to get the words out, then they're just going to eat you alive. And then you're like, oh, and they're like, I'm not interested. And then they hung up on you, you
100%
know,
what happened.
and that we see that so often. I've had multiple people that have worked for me over the years that are like, well, I just don't want to talk to people. And I was like, what is the fundamental point of sales? It's person to person contact. Either it's one to one or one to many, like from stages. And then if you're gonna go on stages, I mean that's a whole nother ball game in terms of being able to communicate well, that you can connect with your audience, and that's training in and all of itself. So no, I 100%, if you're not confident, you're gonna just get destroyed, and then you're gonna be like, this sucks, I hate this. Why did I even get involved in this
Yeah,
kind of
you'll be bumming.
business? Who does that?
I can give you a
So,
nugget for the listeners if they want to try to help the mindset piece. They still have to learn the scripts, to your point. But to help your mindset piece, go at this with sort of okay, I'm getting up in the morning and I'm going to see who I can help. That's it. Because all we're doing, people go, well, how do you get people to sell to you with no money down and owner financing, all these things? I don't get them to do anything. I listen, ask questions, and then try to solve for what their headache is. If they don't have a headache or a goal that they're trying to accomplish that their market can't do, then it's okay, we move on. But if you go at it with, I'm looking for people that I can help and truly listen to them, you'll have more time to be confident, not feeling like you got to fill space and spit all these things out.
Yeah. So question, when you're meeting with these folks and you're trying to solve their problems, because that's really what all real estate investing is
Mhm.
they're gonna tell you all the things, they're gonna tell you stories that you weren't even there to listen or whatever. But then you gotta get to the meat and potatoes. They kind of, understand that you're not there to like just lowball them or whatever the case is and take advantage of them,
Right.
but trying to make a win-win scenario. Do you usually, is that multiple encounters or is that you can do that on the first one? I mean, like do you know what your like meeting to close ratio is there?
Yeah. Typically in the community, it's one appointment to four properties under agreement. Sorry, one out of four a property will go under agreement. One out of four appointments, 25%. Um, the timing is different for everyone though, because like I'm super picky now in my own deal, so I won't go running out to their house unless I'm like, I pretty much have an agreement verbally or an
Yeah.
intent, and then we go out and wrap it up. But everybody's different. Like last Saturday, I saw a guy, and then on the surface, he said he wants to sell his property and he wanted the equity out, but he's open. But as soon as I got there, he started talking. We hit it off, and he told me, "Yep, he had a forbearance. Yep, his payments stop back next month, so that's why he's panicking. And yep, the place is now empty." Right. So all the truth came out. That just fast forwarded his time frame dramatically. At least from what I knew, he already probably knew in his head. So that's probably going to be a next week issue. Whereas there's a guy that I talked to and his wife last night on the way home for one of our deals, not a student. And I started talking to them like 3 months ago, but they just weren't, they just weren't in any urgency. Now they're getting tired of commuting 2 hours a day. And now all of a sudden it's time. Is on our side. Time is always on our side. I think you'd agree with that. So
Yeah.
just listen. And if they're not urgent, then give them time because over time stuff changes. And unfortunately, it's not always for the better.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of sometimes they don't even really realize how urgent this
Right.
scenario is for them, until it really gets bad, you know. So with that, when you're trying to like decide, what direction to go in, for example, like if there's if somebody's, they have a higher interest rate, they need to get out, they don't really want to go into, foreclosure or they're in pre-foreclosure. Like, how do you guys figure out if this is a deal that you can do or you need to refer it to a realtor or something that because it's
Yeah.
just they just need to get out, like fully out.
Yeah, the main issue would be that. The main issue would be let's start at the beginning. Say let's throw back some of those variables. Let's say the payments high monthly, they don't have much equity if any, and if there is any, they want it all. Like there's just we don't see any way for us to make money, even though we have the three payday system. We're just going, yeah, there's no profit, or I can't see it. And they need their money to go move to something else. They need a band-aid right away. Then it's a referral out. If the deal is too tight, but they can wait, they don't care if the thing doesn't close out, especially if there's no money in it, then we can do what's called an AO to us. It's an assign out. It's we find you the same buyer we were going to find you that needs time to get financing, and we just assign that buyer back to you, and we step away. We get one little fee from the buyer, but it's not our preferred. It's one payday, right? Kind of goes against what we developed, but it's
Mm-hmm.
one exit that works if the seller doesn't need the mortgage out of their name today and it
Sure.
gets it done for them, and it gets it done for them at a little bit of a premium. And if not, then yeah, it's a referral.
Gotcha. So it's almost like a retail wholesale
It
deal, like
is.
an
It's a
assignment
I
fee.
just we
Yeah.
I'll say we kind of came up with it. So you control the property, then you assign your rights over back with the buyer back to the seller. So yeah, simple.
Nice. Um, So what would you say in terms of, the three, because I've read your book. I read the real estate on your terms. It was good. It was a very quick read. It's super engaging. Um, what would you say is the kind of the secret sauce, if you will, that you guys have developed, that really is the kind of when people go to your events, they go to get involved in coaching, and they're just like they have this aha moment when they just like
Yeah.
really get lit up and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much potential this whole real estate game has.
Two things, and they say this all the time at the little things we do here in the office I told you about and the big event. And that is, oh, you number one, you guys do what you say you're gonna do, because a lot of people say they say all this fluffy stuff at an event, but then they're not even doing it. So they
Yeah.
realize when they come in the trench, we call it in the trenches boot camp. When they come in the conference room here, they go, oh, okay, you do just what you tell us because we're in it with them. And then the light bulb goes off because they see themselves doing it. And then the next light bulb that goes off is the profit potential. Because our three paydays run, I'll update it for you because it's been 5 years. It runs a low of 45 grand, all three paydays per deal, to a high of 350. In February of 23, I think it was, maybe it was 24. No, 23. We closed on a deal. The payday three was a record. So you're talking about big numbers there. And when they come to an event or to the private one, we structure it all. Like their deal gets structured though.
Yeah.
Not, oh, that sounds good, but that's not me. We call their seller, we negotiate, we put their deal on the board, and they go, whoa, and then they go home and get it. So that's an eye opener.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And so for the audience, remind them what the three paydays are.
Sure. So we deal with buyers in our houses that need time. So huge since COVID is this whole segment of the market that has a corporate job. We just had a woman, for example, over 300 grand corporate job. But when they go and start their own business, they're not bankable, as you know. And it's getting harder, I heard. They usually need 2 years of seasoning. They are a great rent to own buyer for us because they just need time. So we put them in the home, they have plenty of cash. And so where's our paydays come in? Payday one is their down payment. They got cash, they're just not bankable yet. Payday two is the spread between us paying the seller or us paying the seller's mortgage and what we're getting monthly from the buyer while they're in the house getting financing. And payday three is great because it's all the principal pay down throughout the term of the deal and any markup. And so when I gave you those ranges of 45 grand to 350, that's where they come from every single deal. That's a different quality income than say when I was a realtor doing 100 homes a year, I'd get to January and go, oh my God, I got to do this again. Like just boom,
Hmm.
back on the treadmill. Different quality of income. These deals live for a while.
No, that's awesome. I mean, and a lot of people don't look at the spread from the payment, the monthly, because they're just like, oh, I got to hold on to it for this many years or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you're pricing these houses out, are you pricing based on kind of a future projection of the price, or are you pricing it at today's pricing? Because if they don't, let's say they default,
Yeah.
then you got
Yeah.
to take possession of the property back.
Yep.
Like, is there some sort of like buffer in there in terms of the price versus,
Yeah, it's
you
never
know,
like projected out high because some of these deals are 3 years out. And if you did, well, 10%, you'd price yourself right out. No buy run. It wouldn't be fair to do it.
right?
So they are at a premium typically, but not obnoxious. The premium, because they can't get conventional, we're giving them pathway to home ownership.
Yeah.
One, number two, when we buy them right though, JP, we can go right to where market value was, that it was literally on the market as an expired listing and didn't sell for a year. And we get it like boom, because we're offering, I'll give you a stat. I think every market's a little different, but we're offering 80% of the buyer pool a different option. Now, where do I get that number? Raphael, he's in our community. He's a mortgage broker in Miami. So he does like a lot of loans, like more than 100 a year. So he's got a good, a month. So his company. So he's got a good gauge for the metrics. And he said 17 or 18 people that apply, 17 or 18 out of 100 that they're getting through. They're just not, people aren't qualifying.
Wow.
And I'm not saying the 80% is all good rent to home buyers, but within that pool, there's some great rent to home buyers. So we're offering that, therefore we can offer that out at a little premium.
Gotcha. And so when you're setting these up, and obviously you go through all this in your program, but when you're setting these up, is it like contract for deed? Is it note and mortgage? Like what's the tool that you use to kind of
Yeah.
solidify the actual setup?
It depends on the market and the seller. Sometimes the owner financing will be a standard promissory note and mortgage. Sometime, if it's very prevalent in the state and or the seller's attorney's sharp enough to say, hey, let's protect this differently, we'll do a land contract, contract for deed.
Yeah.
The sub two deals are the ones that we've evolved a lot with. We use, and we won't have time to go through a whole sub two thing, but we use an attorney and now a group that does tens of thousands of these, and they paper them properly to conform with the Garden St. Germain Act in the 80s. And this is a kicker, this is since we talked. One of his investors, and this is the only one I've heard about in my whole career, was challenged by the bank for due on sale. This attorney took it to court. This is last year, end of 24, and he beat
Okay.
he beat the bank because he
Wow.
papered it properly. And when you do it properly, even though you shouldn't have that happen, you will win. Like, well, I'm not gonna say you win. Disclosure, I'm not an attorney. He won. He did it properly and he won. So we're closing on a deal right now in Florida, and he's papering it the same way. So
Wow,
too.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing what, when you have the right team behind you
Oh,
and you
it's a
have
necessity.
it's and a lot of these guys, they're just doing it because they just watched a YouTube video and they're just kind of like they downloaded some docs from somewhere or they went on ChatGPT and decided to like have them download you some, hey, create me a document, and then they're running with it and they don't really realize that, you got to have the right team behind you,
Yeah.
because one deal in your career could be over,
Yep.
so
Yep.
you got to
Game
paper it
changer.
right, and it's always good to be part of a community that can get you in touch with the right folks to make sure that you're protecting yourself and you're having fun making money. So
Yeah, I had a woman hit me on Slack. You brought that up. This was a day or two ago, but we wrapped it up today. And she was sitting the whole community. She's brand new, and she said, "Hey, I'm in Arizona. I can't find anyone. I'm stressed out. They're not doing creative real estate." All I did is I picked up my phone, texted one of my higher level people that I coach, and I said, "Hey, you're in Arizona. Who's the title company and the attorneys you're using?" It might have taken a day to get that back, and then this woman's like, "Okay, done, solved." But she was like, probably going to go, "Oh, I can't do this here. It doesn't work."
yeah, and it helps the brain damage. I mean, you can do so much brain damage trying to figure this out on your own. And,
Yep.
and there's a reason why. I mean, I don't know what the cost of the community is, but I will tell you that, you know, whatever the cost is, it's definitely cheaper than what it's going to cost you to get sued.
Yep. Or lose money on a deal, right? So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And it will accelerate your success.
Yep.
There's nothing more rewarding than seeing the ROI on being part of a community and being able to bounce ideas off of people. Because it's amazing how many times, like, you think you've done a deal multiple times, and every time there's always these little weird nuances with stuff.
Oh,
Because
that's what keeps me in the game. It's always different.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Me too, because I wouldn't do real estate if it was the same thing over and over and over again. My brain is not built
Yeah,
that
I
way.
can't, you won't keep my attention that long.
Yeah, my ADHD is way more
Yep.
uh intense than that. So, well, awesome. Is there anything, I mean, we're just gonna keep it quick and razor focus, rapid fire here, but is there anything that you kind of want to communicate to the audience, in terms of, you know, what's Chris Pre all about and why Wicked Smart versus all the other, and we know who all the other players are. So
Well, yeah, yeah. I'll just tell you about this about our community. You won't know until you come see us, and that is we just tell you the truth about the truth. Like we expose you to it. I get criticized for it. I get criticized for putting a whole chapter in my book to say what can go wrong because they said I'm going to scare people away. No, I'm going to equip them. So you're going to find that we do tell the truth about the truth. And then I don't know if we gave the book away. We can do that here, JP, if you want. And
yeah,
our book is not um here's a free book and but put in $8 for shipping. It's free. We will ship it at our cost. You won't pay 10 cents.
that's
Just
awesome.
go to wickedsmartbooks.com/JP. Because we're going to give it to all your tribe.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, and if there's any other way that someone can get a hold of you or just learn more or get a PDF or information, do they just go to the
Um,
website? Can they?
yeah, then go to smartrealestatecoach.com. And if they don't mind dealing with my New England accent for about 55 more minutes, they can go to I got a free workshop. Nobody be bugging you. You do it at your own pace. Go to smartrealestatecoach.com/masters class.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on today. I'm glad we were able to knock out a lot of really, really good nuggets today. Kind of skipping over all the origin story and right to the meat and
I
potatoes of
love it.
things.
I love
And
it.
this is your second time being on the show, and I really appreciate it. And look forward to maybe having you on at some point in the future.
Thanks, buddy. Look forward to it. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, Chris.